A few weeks ago, I was getting ready and I looked into the mirror, and the reflection staring back at me was one I didn't even recognize. It wasn't the gray hairs, the stray hairs, or even the what the heck are these hairs. It was the deep lines, the sagging, pulling my whole face downward all around my mouth. And I realized that grief had literally taken over my face. Perhaps you've recently looked in the mirror and seen the same thing. So I started smiling. Not to fake happiness, not to give anyone the illusion that I'm okay, I'm over this, but in an effort to reclaim my face and in doing so, my life. So today, I want to share my journey. I want to share what I've learned, what both science and the Bible have confirmed about finding our joy again, so that you can start reclaiming yours too. Because today, my friend, we together are changing the reflection in the mirror, one smile at a time. So I hope you'll join me. So I started smiling when I was just alone, just to start working those smile muscles to see if it improved my face value, as Dolly Parton would say. And I've since learned that when you're alone or when you're faking it, if it feels forced, if you're like trying to smile, those smiles still really count, because our brains up here don't know the difference. I learned that, and I think I knew some of this along the way, but the simple act of smiling, just turning those corners up and smiling, releases dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins. And for those of us in the back who have heard these words but have a very loose understanding of them, let's see, I wrote it down because I don't have it 100% in my brain. Dopamine is the pleasure and reward chemical. You know, that's why we scroll, right? To get those dopamine hits. So we feel good. Look, you can just smile. And serotonin, which is a natural mood stabilizer. Serotonin is when you take antidepressants. A lot of the antidepressants are they're mimicking what serotonin does for your body. And then endorphins, which are your body's natural painkillers. So like, you know, when you run real hard, those endorphins, you'll get those endorphins. So I know the words, but sometimes it takes a while for it to click. But a smile also physically lowers your stress and your blood pressure. It lowers our heart rate and reduces the amount of cortisol that our bodies produce during hard times. And let me tell you, friend, you and I both know if grief isn't a hard time, then I don't know what is. It was one of the things I learned early on was cortisol is bad. It does bad things to you. So trying to avoid those cortisol rushes. So it's literally, I was doing a little more reading, and I just learned that smiling is literally a therapy technique. They call it DBT, half smile. And it's a technique that therapists teach for when you feel annoyed or stressed, to calm down your nervous system. And it's literally to, relax yourself a little bit and then slowly turn up those corners of your mouth. And I tested this out in the mirror. And I have to say, this is a total little sidebar here, a little rabbit trail. I could see my son's face from like 36 years ago, before we understood that he had ADHD, when he would, do things and you would be trying to talk to him about it, and he would be looking at you, and you're upset, you're mad, you're whatever you are as a parent, in those moments, and he would look at us and he had this little smirk on his face. And as a parent, that's kind of like, what are you smiling about? And I thought, how many times have we heard that of, teenagers with that little smirk? And, sometimes it maybe is, but it made me wonder, like, is this already a God-given response for stressful situations? Maybe some people just learn it, or inherently know it to kind of, this makes me feel not quite so stressed in this moment that's very, very stressful. I don't know. It was interesting, made me curious, but more questions for another day. Any rate, I was seeing for myself that the science that I was reading about checked. I was feeling less stress. I was feeling a little more hopeful. Just a little less heavy every day. The days that I didn't take the time to smile, the days I let myself just lean into that heavy, not so much. But when I smiled more, I just started feeling a little bit lighter. So I went from just smiling in private for myself, just practicing, to making a conscious effort to engage more smiles with my family, those people that I was interacting most closely with. And so, by the way, speaking of smiling, if you're brand new here and we haven't met before, my name is Patty, and I am so glad you're here with me today. So, let's see. So, I want to make sure that my notes of the important stuff is available, so bear with me. So, moving on to what does God have to say about it? Well, thousands of years ago, before all the neuroscience, all the study of, neurons and dopamine and serotonin and all that happened, God had already put instructions in his word. And there's so many verses that, God's word reinforces God's word. So there's so much there. But I just pulled out a couple that I thought were very relevant. Proverbs 17:22, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine. So, that's, your heart is merry. Your body is producing that medicine via serotonin and dopamine and what was the other one? Endorphins. So he designed it to be a medicine for our bodies. Now, I'm going to pause here and say, if you are suffering from deep depression, please don't hesitate to see a medical professional. I'm not suggesting that a smile can fix everything that's wrong. Sometimes there are, things going on in our body that need further attention. But for day-to-day living, I really believe, and grief is no surprise to God. So I believe that he did give us this for medicine to make our bodies start to heal themselves. But also there's Proverbs 15:30, the light of the eye rejoiceth the heart. When we smile, our eyes light up. So when we change our expression, it changes our internal state. It's just like, it just happens. You smile big and something happens on the inside. Ecclesiastes 8:1, man's wisdom maketh his face to shine. So wisdom isn't just, what you know up here in a thought process. It's knowing when to choose joy, to choose to smile. And that wisdom will alter and brighten our appearance. So I don't consider myself wise, but I believe the grace of God gave me the ability to wisely know I needed to start smiling. So choosing to let my face shine around those closest to me was an act of faith and wisdom, because I was seeing God was doing something. Something was happening inside of me. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take this a step further. So, oh goodness. Sorry guys. It's really hot. Really hot. So now I started taking my smile out into the world with me. Instead of just trying to be unseen when I would go out in public, I started smiling. When I'd pass somebody in a doorway, someone would hold the door, I would try to hold eye contact and smile. And I realized I was starting to make connections, and you start seeing how the environment around you changes. So a great example of this is I was standing in the line at the post office. Somehow I always wind up there on Mondays. Don't plan it, don't realize it, but every time it's on a Monday. And I join the line because, well, what's she gonna do? You gotta mail something. And I got in this line, and it was all the way out the door. And people were, staring at their phones, looking impatient, looking annoyed, looking at the clock. And honestly, if I had had my earbuds with me, I would have, because I'm like, this is going to be a long line. I might as well listen to my audiobook or something. I almost checked out myself, but I did not have my earbuds. So instead, I tried to engage with the world around me. Now, I wasn't all chatty Cathy to everybody in the line, but when someone would pass through the doorway, I would smile. If someone would turn around to look, how far is the line behind me, I would smile. Just when I had opportunities to catch people's eyes, I was smiling, but I was also observing. There was a postal worker. She was the only one at the counter for the majority of time. And I noticed she had this engaging smile, and she smiled every time. And it was a lot of lengthy, involved transactions for, whatever reason that day. But she just, each one, she would greet them, come on over, and smile, and just very engaged with them. And even the people that were looked so annoyed waiting in line, because let's be honest, there's a line all the way out the door, and they had one person at the counter. But I noticed that everyone that walked away from the counter was either smiling, or they they didn't look irritated anymore. Now, you know, some of them may just be that they got their transaction done so they can move on with their day. But I believe it was that it really struck me just watching all these interactions. And as the line wore on, I realized, or it came to light, she was brand new. And there was stuff that she like didn't know, but she was doing her very best. And by golly, she, like, her attitude stayed so great, and she smiled the whole time. And it just really, I realized I had a smile on my face the whole time just watching her. And that's interesting because I learned about mirror neurons. So smiles are biologically evolutionary, if you will. I'm not a evolutionary kind of person, but they're contagious. I mean, we've heard that all the time. Smiles are contagious, and they are. Basically, when someone smiles at you, these mirror neurons fire off, and they mimic that smile that's on the other person's before your mind even consciously processes it. So it takes a pretty grumpy person to fight that and to not smile back, because we're designed. It's a human. Smile is a universal signal for safety across every culture, every country, every language. A smile means the exact same thing. It means that I am safe and you are safe with me. When I smile at you, I'm saying I'm a safe person and you're safe with me. That's what your brain reads. And I think life has kicked us around sometimes and made us less trusting of that. But overall, I believe that it really is. It's when someone smiles, it's like it lowers your guard. You feel more comfortable with that person. So I realized I'm doing this. Like I'm smiling all the way up through the line, and I got about 4 away from the counter, and another lady came out, and she seemed a little bit grumpier. I don't like saying that about people, but she seemed a little grumpier. Turns out she really wasn't. She just kind of had more of a demeanor that came off that way, but she was actually very nice and very helpful. But I got Smiley Lady, and she helped me with my transaction. I'd actually goofed and put my label on the wrong side of the package, and anyways, she helped me get it all figured out. And like I said, I realized I had discovered through the course of hearing other conversations that she was brand new. And so I took the time to tell her, that she was doing a great job. And, her smile just like lit up the room, and she was doing a great job. And that I just really appreciated her welcoming smile. So that was a really fun interaction, and another like confirmation of like what I'm living, what I'm seeing, what I'm doing. This is all true. And so the more that I've looked for opportunities to give someone a smile, the more I have noticed how many people out there need a smile. Many people, most people return my smiles, even if it's just a quick little one. Unfortunately, some people just give you empty stares. But keep smiling anyway, because it's benefiting you. And maybe the fact, for whatever reason, they couldn't smile back, but maybe your smile gave them that little something they needed that will help them through their day. Dale Carnegie, he wrote How to Win Friends and Influence People. I read it years ago, and some things have come up. I kind of want to read it again, just to It's a refresher because I'm into reading now. But he wrote, some people are just too tired to give you a smile. So give them one of yours. As none needs a smile so much as he who has none to give, right? So give away your smiles, because if somebody else can't give you one, they need it more than anybody. And I think about the people that have smiled at me when I couldn't smile back. And I know that helped. So thank you so much for spending time with me. I'm so glad that you're here, and I hope that some of this resonated with you. I hope it has inspired you to put yourself on a smiling regimen, and see where it takes you. If nothing else, it's going to just make you feel better on whatever level that is. So this week, remember to look into your mirror with kindness, no matter what you see, the grays, the strays, the what the hecks, and even the yucky lines. I still see them. They're still there. But I'm working on getting new ones that will be brighter. So I'd love to chat with you more down in the comments. And in the meantime, let's keep changing our reflections, one smile at a time. Have a beautiful day, my friends.